Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's movie blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well. And today we're talking about a great article, and I can already tell from the title. I was Googling my Star Wars news trying to find out what's going on today, and I saw this and I was like, okay, I know that I'm probably going to get some shade. I know that I'm probably going to get some hate and some shade from people because, oh my gosh, no, Breitbart, it's an alt-right organization. You can't trust anything from it. Even though all of this is, from what I've seen of it, is a man trying to explain, okay, this is what the cancellation of Boba Fett actually means for the Star Wars universe. And I think that based on his initial thoughts, he's spot on. And it's really interesting because no one in the media, except for maybe a few, like a small group of people, are actually talking about why Star Wars is in the position that it is in. No one would have thought back in 2015, when Star Wars The Force Awakens made over $2 billion, that Star Wars would ever make a film that would lose money at the box office. Even before that time, Star Wars had never, ever lost money. And then we got Solo, which was all in the shadow of The Last Jedi, and what that film not only did to the Star Wars universe, but also did to the Star Wars fandom as well. And so, a lot of us, again, geeks and gamers, Ethan Van Sciver, especially world-class BSers, have been trying to figure this out, have been trying to figure out and trying to be very clear on this is what we perceive as fans, as members of the fandom. This is what we perceive to be the problem, and here's how we think it should be addressed. Here's who we think is responsible for this. Here's what we actually think is going on in the process. While the entire media and Lucasfilm itself has stepped back and said, no, it's nothing to do with that. Oh, God, it's just too much at the time. It was just, too much too fast. Star Wars fatigue. Even though it's very easy for anyone with a brain and a computer to look up, wait a minute, then how is it that you can make 20 films in 10 years for Marvel and yet every single one of them makes money? Not even the worst of those films lost money at the box office. And so it makes you ask that question. And it's time to be honest. And I'm so glad that there's someone in the media that's going to be very straightforward about what this actually means and also what the current state of Star Wars is. So as you said, cancellation of Boba Fett movie reveals a Star Wars franchise in serious trouble. And that is the truth. This is a franchise in extremely serious trouble. That is the reason why they have cut everything from their plans. They've cut everything from the calendar except for two things. The two things that they have in writing on their calendar are the upcoming Mandalorian series, which another person, so another news organization, not Breitbart, but another news organization that you probably would think is a legitimate news organization, they said that it's because they are putting 100% of their effort into the Mandalorian because that's essentially where they're putting all of their eggs. They're putting everything they can into the Mandalorian because they know if the Mandalorian doesn't do well, if the Mandalorian is not successful, not only does that affect them in Star Wars in Episode 9, but it also affects their Disney streaming service as well because that is going to be one of their key selling points because one of the biggest franchises that they have is actually not even Marvel, it's Star Wars. Or at least it was until Disney got its hands on it and started to just mess up so many things. And that is probably the biggest IP that they still have. And so if they can't get that right, they're not going to be able to bring people in to actually buy their service. So we have to understand that because, of course, we look there. So that's on their radar. And also, of course, is Episode 9. And so this is where we are at this point, where we see that this is an extremely dangerous waters for the Star Wars universe, and there is the good old man Boba Fett himself. So, it says, Lucasfilm chief Kathleen Kennedy finally bit the bullet this week, finally revealed what we all knew to be true. And everyone, even the people out there who says, oh, no, there's nothing wrong, or oh, no, it's because of this, and this, they all know what the truth is. They just don't want to say it. They don't want to say it because they know if they do say it, they know if they do come out and are straightforward about Lucasfilm and the direction of it and the current state of Star Wars, that all their press passes will be taken away and they'll probably get fired from the news organization because all these things happen because there is no diversity of thought in the news media anymore. So I'm very glad to see it here. And say what you want about Breitbart, but so far this guy's spot on. The Star Wars movie universe is contracting, shrinking, and doing so in a very serious way, and it is. It is shrinking tremendously, and it is not looking good for it at all. If you recall, the original plan was for Kennedy and Disney to marvel the Star Wars series, to mine the mythology and wealth of characters in a way that would guarantee a mega hit for Disney once or twice a year, which they could have done. People keep saying, oh no, it's too much Star Wars, or no, they shouldn't do that. I have problems with Marvel, and yet Marvel is still being seen. Marvel films are still making money. And in many cases, and in most cases, they're making huge profits off of those films. Where do you think most of their money comes from? It's not from Star Wars anymore. It's from Marvel. It's from all the Marvel films that they've made and all the products that they've made from those characters. And we all know, as Disney fans, rather as Star Wars fans, that there is a treasure trove of characters that you can go into. Just go to the Clone Wars series, and you will have several characters that could have their own standalone movie. The problem is that they haven't decided to make that choice. They have not gone in that direction, and instead have decided to focus on modern day identity politics and throwing that into this galaxy far, far away, and people don't want to see that. People don't want to see it. If people want to be preached to, as I said, they'll watch a documentary. They'll watch a history program. They'll watch the news. But they don't want that. They want to be entertained. They want to exist in a universe that is not of our universe. Sure, there can be similarities because obviously human persons have made this concept and created this concept known as Star Wars, but it also has to be different. There has to be a separation of it as well from the reality of the situation. Otherwise, you cannot go in there and to completely detach from reality. Matthew Cage did a very good job when he was breaking this down, saying in order to buy into a movie, you have to be able to, and the movie has to be able to allow you to detach yourself from reality, to dive into the story. But if you keep bringing and weighing down a story with real-world elements that keeps anyone from actually diving in, that's a problem. If you cannot allow an audience to dispense disbelief, or rather dispense belief, you're not going to be able to hold people. You're not going to be able to hold them for a very long period of time. After the mind-boggling success of the reboot of 2015's Force Awakens, which again was huge, I don't think people expected it to make money. I don't think anyone expected to make over $2 billion. That all seemed possible. The country was crazy for Star Wars. It was 1977 all over again. We could not get enough. Our goodwill exploded, and Kennedy was going to keep them coming. And I would say that's true. Some people might disagree with that. I honestly think Force Awakens did a very good job. Obviously, the box office says as much as that, and I think it did a good job setting up the universe. Was it a perfect film? No. There were issues with it, but it still set up a very interesting universe that I think could have easily spawned off into a really awesome trilogy, a really awesome universe, but unfortunately, we got The Last Jedi after that. On top of this latest trilogy, it is what is known in what is known as the Skywalker saga. There would be spin-off sagas, and these spin-offs would almost certainly result in sequels and franchises of their own. Han Solo, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Boba Fett projects were all announced with the promise of even more, and I think people were excited, especially for that Obi-Wan Kenobi film, because you have the actor who played him in the prequels wanting to and being interested in portraying that character once again. There are so many things that could be done with that character. Boba Fett is a character that could easily be adapted even more so, and Han Solo could have been done very well. Unfortunately, they just did not get the best actor for that part. Again, he's not a bad actor. He's just not the perfect actor to play a young Harrison Ford, which is what you need to be able to do, because he wasn't Han Solo. And if you can't have a Han Solo playing a Han Solo, guess what can happen? You're not going to have people going out and wanting to see that movie. That was actually a film that most people probably didn't even want to see or didn't care for. People care more about, the Obi-Wan Kenobi solo film or the Boba Fett project instead. It just makes sense. It was all so exciting. The most iconic franchise in the history of movies had returned, and we were off. There was just one tiny problem. The movies weren't very good, and here is where we get into the truth of the matter. Force Awakens, even though I enjoyed it, and I will still stand by that, I enjoyed The Force Awakens. It is not a perfect movie. There are flaws within the movie itself. Obviously, you can look to Rey being a Mary Sue, but also what they do with certain characters as well, and the way that they do it. Again, you have some really great, awesome concepts that are just, even in the first film, not brought to their fullest, potential. Which is the reason why I think a lot of us said, okay, well, that'll be fine as long as they take what is in the movie and extend it and go further and dive down those rabbit holes in Episode 8. But then that didn't happen. And so all we're left with is an incomplete Episode 7 and then a tonal, gigantic narrative mess in Episode 8. Which is the reason why at this point, Episode 9 is just screwed. As I said, they're going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at Episode 9, but it's not going to be enough. You cannot create a great film when you have a foundation of crap. You cannot build a giant, beautiful mansion when you have a foundation of sand. That is just not how it works, and that is what the first two films have been at this point. Sand. And there's nothing else that can really be done about that. Oh, we loved The Force Awakens in the theater with a crowd of fellow enthusiasts. The fan service was exceptional. All those touchstones and callbacks were thrilling, but on closer examination, like say when you're watching at home, it's just not a very good movie. This is interesting. And why did you kill off Han Solo, the most beloved and popular character in the franchise? It's a valid question. Again, obviously we could say, well, Harrison Ford wanted the character to die for a very long time. That is true, but does that mean it was the best choice narratively? Now, I do think that it was a powerful moment to have his son, Kylo Ren, kill him, but it was wasted at this point. With everything that they've done to this point, it has been absolutely wasted. Oh, well, at least we still have Luke and Leia, am I right? Great question. Then came Rogue One, a prequel to the original Star Wars, which was a little bit better of a movie, but it only barely squeaked over $1 billion worldwide. Again, it's a film that I personally was not a huge fan of, but I understand why some people liked it. So I would say that was a success. Was there a disturbance in the Force? And then came The Last Jedi, and this is when it all came together in a bad way. Here we were, laying down our hard-earned money to take a trip into a galaxy far, far away, and here was this hideous Kathleen Kennedy woman beating us over the head with her obnoxious feminist agenda, her even more obnoxious identity politics, her intolerable preaching, and ham-handed, man-hating wokeness, and this movie sucks, and oh well, that is just great. Now they've killed off Luke and replaced him the cast of Dawson's Creek 2. Oh my goodness, so guys, you all know this. I read these articles live. I always do like a quick scan just to make sure I know what's being talked about, but I did not see this. Oh my goodness. So this is, if you want a summation of The Phantom Menace, if you want a summation of everything that is wrong with the current state of Star Wars, this paragraph right here, if I can even, computer, what are you doing? This paragraph right here sums it all up. Again, hideous Kathleen Kennedy woman beating us over the head with her obnoxious feminist agenda, her even more obnoxious identity politics, and her intolerable preaching and ham-handed, man-hating wokeness, and this movie sucks. Oh well, that is just great. Now they've killed off Luke and replaced with the cast. I think it says with the cast meant to be put there. So again, I do criticize when I see some narrative things or when I see some writing errors. Replaced him with the cast of Dawson's Creek 2. I think that's a great example. That's what it is now. It is now turned into that. It is now turned into almost a young adult story. And that is not where Star Wars needs to be. That is not what Star Wars needs to do. And I hope that and pray that they understand, oh, we should not have taken Star Wars in this direction. Oh, we messed up. Let's try and make ourselves better. You know, you would hope that they would do that. But based on everything that you've heard, no, they've doubled down on this. They don't regret making these movies. They don't regret the decisions that they've made. Oh, no, it was a great movie. Yeah, just a few random trolls, some Russian trolls and Russian bots. They don't like it. But most audiences do. Really? Then why did it make $700 million less? And why, in the wake of The Last Jedi, did Solo lose $200 million? You can't, when you actually put it to scrutiny, you cannot explain it. Well, at least we still have Carrie Fisher. Oh, no. And again, that was something that was out of their control. Again, that was out of Lucasfilm's control. However, had everything else not happened before it the way that they did, it would not have nearly hurt, I think, as much from a narrative perspective. Obviously, a personal perspective, yes. It's very, very sad that we lost her way too soon. But from a narrative perspective, it would not have been as crippling had they actually been able to set up something interesting beforehand. A movie focused on Han Solo seemed to come at exactly the right time. After all, who doesn't love Han Solo? Who doesn't want to see Solo? But then, no one wrote Solo, and oh boy. Oh look, Solo has a feminist woke droid and a pansexual Lando Calrissian with an unnatural affection for feminist woke droid and the guy playing Han Solo, who is about 4 feet shorter than Han Solo, and kersplat, the impossible happens, a Star Wars movie flops. Oh my goodness, this I've been waiting for this article for my entire life at this point. Oh my goodness, even the Lucas prequels, this is a great point, didn't flop. Not even Attack of the Clones, which in my argument is the worst Star Wars film ever made. But Solo did, grossing just $392 million worldwide, which is a disaster for something that probably had to crack $800 million to just break even. Yep. That's the reason why when I say $200 million loss, that is being extremely generous. Solo was not so disappointing a movie, it deserved to flop, so here's what I think happened. Exactly. Again, I think most people would say that Solo was, okay, it was fine. If any movie deserved to flop, it probably wasn't Solo. Last Jedi was the one that deserved to flop, but people were still excited because of The Force Awakens and wanted to see more. And then they saw it, and they said, that's no. And then when Solo came out, they said, no, I still remember The Last Jedi. I'm good. This is the current direction of Star Wars right now. This is Disney Star Wars. Yeah, I'm good. I'll pass. And a lot of people did. A lot of people passed on this movie. The fans have been complaining bitterly about a lot of things, most especially The Last Jedi, and in return, Kennedy and her woke squad attacked them, called them bigots and sexist and backward and screw you. We are Star Wars, and this thing will always make money, which means we can use it as a soapbox for our woke man-hating, and while you deplorables cry baby, we'll be laughing all the way to the bank. Oh my god, dude, this is amazing. Guys, I'm definitely leaving a link to this article because I think you need to give it as many clicks as you can because this guy is speaking truth to power, and it is something that is so great to see because this is all true. This is the reason why Star Wars is in the current state that it is, because it went full on identity politics, SJW, NPC nonsense. And for anyone to ignore that, for anyone to live in a bubble and say, oh, no, that's not true, is someone who is not living in reality. Someone who's not accepting the reality that is around them. And we'll be laughing it all the way to the bank. Yeah, no. Furious over The Last Jedi and all the rest of the fans took it out on Solo, and so here we are. Exactly right. There are so many people to this day who are still trying to explain anything and everything other than the truth of what happened as to why Solo flopped. The fact remains that, yes, the production budget was ballooned by reshoots. Again, a decision made by Kathleen Kennedy. However, even then, it should have still made more than it did. it should have still made more than $392 million. A Star Wars film, no matter what, has never, ever lost money until Solo. And the only factor that anyone with a right mind who lives in reality can point to is the disaster that was The Last Jedi and where that left the fandom. And he is so right saying, no, instead of listening to the fans, they decided to call them racist and sexist and decided to just call people out, say, oh, you're just a small group of deplorables. You're just a small basket of deplorables. Where we heard that before? And guess what that led to? And now we see the same thing happening. Only now we're talking about a movie, and now we're talking about how much money the films are going to be making this, going forward, which is why I still think that, episode 9 is going to be a clear point made by the fans. It's not going to break $1 billion. And at that point, they're going to use every excuse in the book. Oh, it's because of competition. Oh, it's because of this or this. They will do everything that they can. They would do anything except to acknowledge the Phantom Menace exists and that the Phantom Menace is a large group of people that has power in what they spend their money on. They would love to do everything and anything but that. And if they ever did, and you see this happen all the time, if they ever did acknowledge them, they would say, oh, well, it's not a large group. It's just a small group of the most vocal fans who are a bunch of racist, sexist, homophobic, misogynistic people. Like, that's all the time. That's what you hear. Anytime that they acknowledge any of us, that is what you hear, even though they obviously don't know who they're talking to, because that would mean Ivan Ortega is a racist against himself. That would mean that Anna, that Star Wars girl, or Jesse Milestone are sexist against their entire gender. Yeah, that works. I mean that the guys at World Class BSers are also racist, even though we've got some diversity in that group. But it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. But where are we really? What does the cancellation of the spin-offs mean? Well, believe it or not, after all this promise and hype and announcements, there is only one Star Wars movie beyond the planning to be planned stages, and that is the upcoming Episode 9, exactly, which officially closes this particular trilogy and the overall Skywalker saga. Oh, Kennedy and Company have some TV shows coming up, but TV is still TV. In the arena of the big screen where Star Wars truly belongs, I totally agree with that. Star Wars is meant to be seen on the big screen. I'm sure that Jon Favreau is going to do a great job with the show, and I know that if you do an animated series like Clone Wars, you can definitely add to it. But if you're going to be making a real life live action series, it does so much better and will translate so much better on the big screen. That is where Star Wars belongs. Thank you so much for mentioning that, because that is a true statement. Star Wars has one last gasp before it stares into the abyss, before it can no longer ride on the goodwill of the original trilogy and those beloved characters who are all dead now. That is an excellent point. That is a spot-on point about what they were trying to do and how they just destroyed everything that was set up by George Lucas. Bottom line, without those Obi-Wan, Han Solo, Boba Fett spin-offs, after Episode 9 hits theaters next Christmas, the Star Wars film franchise is looking dead in the water. And I totally agree with that. There's no place for them to go. Oh, well, we got oh no, you just don't know because, we got the Rian Johnson trilogy coming out. Yeah, he might be writing it, but it's questionable whether it comes out. And if it does come out, it's more likely to come out on the Disney streaming service. Isn't that interesting? That where Star Wars was after the prequels, where it shifted over to television, is now exactly where the Disney Star Wars is. You would think that the Disney Star Wars would be like, oh no, big movies every single year, just like we do with Marvel, just like we do with Pixar. Every year, 1, 2 films that all do well. You would have thought, oh, it's a perfect fit for Star Wars. But instead, they wanted to get that identity politics insanity into the discussion. All Kennedy has lined up is the promise of 2 new trilogies, one being developed by Last Jedi director Rian Johnson, who is dead to the hardcore Star Wars community because Last Jedi sucked, thank you, and a separate trilogy in development by a couple of guys who did Game of Thrones, but even that is specifically been mentioned as being for the Disney streaming service. So again, small screen. So it's a very good point that it looks like after Episode 9, we might not have another Star Wars film on the big screen for a long time. Maybe that's a good thing. But obviously, I will point out to saying, no, it's a bad thing because Star Wars should be seen on the big screen and is meant for it and could easily do well if someone who knew what they were doing, which obviously Kathleen Kennedy as the head of Lucasfilm does not, if they were able to put someone creatively in charge who understands the fans and will give the fans not only what they want, but also will expand and blow their minds with incredible content, until that happens, it's not going to go anywhere. That's it, y'all. It actually gets worse because as she kills off our beloved characters and those she doesn't kill, she turns into metrosexual soy boys. Oh my god, yes, this guy's amazing. Star Wars has no characters to build a 4th trilogy from. Raise your hand if you want to spend 3 whole movies with Mary Sue, the charisma-free Rey, or the befuddled sitcom dad Finn. Excellent point. I'm sorry, there might be some fans of those characters out there, but it's not enough to build an entire trilogy on. And that, my friends, is how Kathleen Kennedy screwed the most unscrewable brand in movie history. The fact that the prequels did not destroy the franchise, because it still did well. There's some people who say, oh, Disney saved Star Wars. Really? Star Wars was actually doing very well with Clone Wars. Again, it went on for 6 seasons. It went on for 6 whole seasons, and then they also had Rebels. Star Wars was doing very well. Yeah, they weren't making films. That's because George Lucas didn't really, he wanted his focus to be on television. He didn't have any more things that he wanted to bring to the big screen. I'm sure if he did, he would have been able to do it. But isn't it interesting that Disney's now doing this? Naturally, though, because as a Hollywood where ideology and identity triumph over all, Kennedy continues to fail upwards, and that is an excellent way to finish this article. Kathleen Kennedy was given a contract extension, even though she is the person. She is the head of Lucasfilm that okayed a decision that led to the first loss ever since 1977. Since 1977, 40 plus years of a franchise, the first time that it ever lost money was under Kathleen Kennedy's watch. If that is not enough to cause for a firing or a shifting around, I don't know what else is. And I know there's some people who say, oh, don't worry, it's happening, it's happening. The fact that they've given her a 3-year contract extension, the fact that we know how Hollywood works, the fact that we know that they care more about this woke garbage, woke SJW NPC political garbage, identity politicking garbage, it's sad to say that we know how it's going to end. And it's not going to end well for them because they're not going to make money. Because when December of 2019 comes around, you have a lot of people who aren't going to be paying to see that movie. But guys, what are your thoughts on this? I think this might be one of the greatest articles that I've ever read in my entire life. So I want to give a huge shout out to, again, Breitbart, but specifically John Nolte at Breitbart. This is an amazing story. So guys, please check it out for yourself. If for any reason you have any reading issues, I know some of my subscribers do have, you can listen to the story as well. So click on the link, press the little play button, and it'll play the story for you. It is amazing. I know I just went through the article, but I really do think that you should give this a click. I really do think you should give this a listen because I think that this is fantastic. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Please let me know your thoughts on this below. Do you think that this is one of the greatest articles that's ever been written about Star Wars? I think it is because it is so spot on in almost every single way. It's so great to hear somebody in a major news outlet. Yes, that's what it is. It's a major news outlet. I don't care what you woke NPCs say. It is. Again, it gets a lot of clicks, it gets a lot of traffic, and that's what I would call a successful news outlet. Let me know your thoughts on this below. I'd love to hear it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe. It helps me out a lot. Click on this article, give them some love as well because they're fantastic. Have a great day, and as always, God bless.